It is a perfect Saturday afternoon for college football, even better for homecoming. 78 degrees at game time. Temperature should be around 80 later this afternoon. A slight wind out of the east, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Humidity is bearable, and it should be a perfect day all afternoon. Here come the Virginia Cavaliers. 3-1 overall. They have beaten VMI 40 to 15, Georgia Tech 24 to 13, and Duke 37 to 14 a week ago. In between, they lost a tough one to Navy in Charlottesville, 17 to 13. Here's George Welsh, fourth year, 19-17-2 with the Cavaliers in his 13th year overall, counting his record at Navy. George Welsh, 74, 63-3, and he has truly been a miracle worker in both positions, both at Navy and at the University of Virginia, and they brought the Cavalier with them this afternoon to meet the Tiger, and they will need it.
Well, they sure will. You know, when you talk about that Navy record, of course, George Welsh's record, just the fact that he's accomplished that at the Naval Academy and everywhere he's been has to be really a factor.
And here come the Tigers down the hill. And 80,000 fans come to their feet, even though Clemson has an uncharacteristic 1-3 record. They beat Virginia Tech in their opener, then lost on consecutive weekends to Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Kentucky. Danny Ford, in his 7th year at Clemson, 53-18-2, a very enviable record, even though he is 1-3 this year. Hello again, everybody. Mike Patrick and Ken Willard. Glad you could be with us this afternoon for the fireworks between Virginia and Clemson. And Ken, Virginia comes in here with an outstanding ground attack. They're number 1 in the ACC, 10th in the country, and they keep finding new weapons.
Well, they just seem to find those weapons, and I think great ball clubs too. When you have that super offensive line, it's very easy to develop good offensive backs. Last week, they had Kevin Morgan, a young freshman from Richmond, Virginia, step forward in the fullback position, and he had one whale of a day, 128 yards. Barry Word, of course, has been leading the conference in rushing since the inception of this year's season. They look great.
Are they going to have to run more today because Geno Zimmerlink, their tight end, is injured?
Well, we thought he was going to play today, but he's not. But, you know, they've been getting the ball real well, very well, I should say, to their wide receivers, Muha, and, of course, Snead earlier in the season, and Quanah Bullock, who is now back. Last week, Muha caught 5 passes, and it looks like they can get the ball downfield now. They still miss John Ford.
One of the big things about Clemson, as we've told you earlier in this broadcast, is the turnovers they've committed this year. And all those mistakes, Ken, have forced Danny Ford to make changes in his offense today.
Well, they were running more of a drop-back passing game. Now they're going to a sprint out or a roll type. A new quarterback, Rodney Williams, hasn't played a whole lot. They hope he'll be the inspirational leader that they really need.
And we'll see more option-type offense.
Absolutely, and a lot more running.
All right. It's Virginia against Clemson, and we'll be back for the kickoff of today's game right after this. Here's the way Clemson will line up when they have the ball, and Rodney Williams, the redshirt freshman, will be starting his second game at quarterback. Stacy Driver and Kenny Flowers in the same backfield for the first time starting since last year. Those are the receivers. Rulock, extremely dangerous. Up front, the best offensive lineman, Steve Reese, just an outstanding performer. Virginia's defense will be tested sorely this afternoon, and the Cavaliers will kick it away. There you see the defensive line. Sean Scott has had a great year in sacks. Charles McDaniel and Russ Swan and free safety Kevin Gould are the heart of this defense as far as tackling is concerned. Kenny Stadlin will kick it away for the Cavaliers. Stadlin sprained an ankle last week and only had one kickoff, but he seems to be back and all right this afternoon. Terrence Rulock, number 15, and Ray Williams, number 45, are deep to receive. Williams, the all-time leading return man for kickoffs in Clemson history. But it's going to be Williams. Rulock, rather, 30, 34-yard line. Great return by Terrence Rulock, and Stadlin was trying to kick the ball away from Williams. Pinned Rulock in the corner, and he brought it all the way out to the 33. And there's a good look at Rodney Williams out of Columbia, South Carolina. He has only thrown 11 passes so far this year. Don't expect him to throw too many this afternoon. We'll go straight up the middle with the tailback Driver, and Swan is waiting for him. Ken, it's really hard to believe as many years as Clemson ran the option and had so few turnovers, now they go to a more passing attack where you don't expect that many fumbles, and they fumbled it all over the place.
Well, I think that they have to get back to what they do well, and I think they'll make an effort to do that in this ballgame.
Driver cuts it back across the 40 to about the 41-yard line, and free safety Kevin Gould, the fourth leading tackler on the ball club, came up to make the tackle. Driver and Flowers have been alternating at tailback along with Terrence Flagler. Right now, Driver is in there. Flowers is the up man in the eye.
Well, we get a look at Tracy Johnson. Tracy Johnson leading on Scott. He gets that flow, and everybody reacting. Of course, Charles McDaniel, their great linebacker, will always be trying to go to the play. You might be looking for him to cut back against that McDaniel today because he does pursue so well.
Rod Quick, 36 and 42. Tracy Johnson are in on 3rd and 2. They go for the first down, and they may have come up short. They gave it to Tracy Johnson, the 215-pound freshman, and the middle of the Virginia defense there to stack him up. They needed to reach the 44 for the first down, and I think they spotted it a little short. And now they'll measure.
I think it's a remarkable factor, Mike, that coming into this year's ball game, of course, there you see that Clemson leads this series 24-0. I don't think you could get more graphic than that than talking about what happened. Of course, last year was the big blowout up in Charlottesville, 55-0. First down, down by an inch. The amazing factor, in my opinion, coming into this season's ball game, or this season, they needed their 4 veteran defensive players, Swan, Scott, McDaniel, and Hillman, to play great football. Those 4 guys turn out to be the leading tackler today, along with Kevin Gould, of course, who started 3 games strong last year.
Ray Williams, 45, Terrence Rulock, 40 or 15, are back in at the wide receiver spot. Tracy Johnson will stay in at the fullback spot with Driver 21 at the tailback. First pass of the afternoon, complete to the sideline to Riggs, the tight end, across midfield, down near the Virginia 40. Nice play by Rodney Williams as he went with a play-action fake. And you'll notice when Williams throws, he's got a lot of wrist action in there.
He certainly did. Looks like a baseball player, and probably is. But Rodney Williams started earlier in the year, and he really as a protest because the other quarterback, Randy Anderson, was actually being punished. But Kevin Gould got fooled on the play, and the big tight end, Riggs, picks himself up a first down.
That's number 10 in the reception list for Riggs. And Virginia now with Clemson in their own territory. Driver with a cutback. Caught from behind as he reached the 36-yard line. And if Russ Swan did not catch him from behind, Stacy Driver was gone.
A little pitch sweep. Now, we're talking a lot about turnovers. I want you to watch Driver when he first catches the football. He almost drops it. We don't get a chance to see it very well. There's a missed tackle there by Scott Hillman. And look at the cutback. Great play, Russ Swan, always alert. He's back in. He makes the tackle.
It's another first down for the Tigers. First and 10, Virginia, 36-yard line. Give it to Johnson, the fullback, who got 1 before Swan leveled him.
He did level, and Russ Swan, really, really tough competitor, 6'4", 225 pounds. We've talked about a lot. Likes to do his talking with his shoulder pads. Plays a great football game, a leading tackler on this squad this year.
Rayotis Perkins also in on that stop. It'll be 2nd and 9 for the Tigers as the freshman Rodney Williams leads them out. Johnson, the fullback, Stacy Driver, the tailback. Here's the option. Williams to throw off of it. Deep, and he has his man out there. Off the fingertips of Shelton Boyer. Pass maybe just slightly underthrown, and Curtis Turner was back there. He may have gotten a hand on it.
Looks like he's going to run a sprint out, sets up in a drop back position. Now he had him beat. Shelton Boyer had him beat. Allowed, of course, the throw allowed Curtis Turner to catch back up. But it should have been a touchdown had Williams gotten the ball out front.
Very, very close. Keith Jennings, number 46, will come in at a wide receiver as Clemson goes with 3 wideouts on 3rd and 9 from the Cavalier 35-yard line. And they'll run it with Driver straight up the middle. Driver still on his feet. First down at the 20, 15-yard line. Stacy Driver with just a great effort. Kevin Gould finally had to make the stop at the 15-yard line. Ken, they had him stop short of a first down, and he wouldn't quit.
We're going to see some great blocking. Look at the move by Stacy Driver at the point of attack. Missed tackle by the 2 linebackers. There's the big defensive end trying to come up to Ertz and make the play, but finally has to be brought down from behind by Kevin Gould.
Very impressive opening drive by the Tigers. They have reached the Virginia 15. Flowers in at tailback. Not much as McDaniel nailed him at the 15-yard line. McDaniel, the all-time leading tackler for the Cavaliers, but he is number 3 this year.
He's not
Swan
used
and
to
Scott and Hillman have had, no, he's not.
Well, they protect their linebackers, of course, and they stack the defensive line, etc., to try to keep those linebackers, and they're going to make most of the tackles. At that point, not a good block by the fullback Johnson. Charles McDaniel stood him up and made the tackle. Driver, not a big guy, 5'8", 180 pounds.
Second down, 9 yards to go. The fullback Johnson up the middle. He gets to about the 10. And it was Russ Swan tripping him up. Tracy, another freshman. Boy, is this a young ball club.
Very young ball club, and a lot of young people across that offensive line. Only one starter from last year, and he's a great one, of course. Steve Reese, the big 270-pound senior. He is an all-star candidate.
3rd and 3, big call here. Shelton Boyer comes into a wide receiver, and they will send both wide receivers, Boyer and Rulock, to the far side. And running out of the eye on 3rd and 3, Driver, tailback pitch, and it'll be stopped short of the first down. Nice play by Gould coming up from the secondary, hit him first, and Sean Scott put him down. McDaniel down, it looks like they'll go for the field goal.
Charles McDaniel got penetration there and took that guard out of the play. That was John Phillips that McDaniel came up and met at the line of scrimmage, forcing Driver to try to get outside. Too late.
That's Jeff Litton, the center, being intended to. Like with Jerry Faust at Moeller High School.
As did a lot of other people in college football.
Did they ever?
They're very thin along that offensive line, and they really can't afford to lose anybody. Most of these kids have not seen a lot of action as they've played, and they're not particularly young. They've got some juniors and some seniors up there, but not a lot of experience in game time.
David Treadwell will try the field goal. A 25-yard effort. Treadwell has only missed one this year. That was outside of 50 yards. Brian Hammond, number 59, the freshman, is in to snap. Treadwell puts it up, and he's got it. The sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida, knocks it through. And Clemson has taken a first-quarter lead, 3-0, with 10:06 to go first period. We'll be back with more after this.
Well,
there's Virginia's offense. They'll be led by Don Mikowski, the quarterback. Howard Petty will start at tailback. Of course, he'll alternate with Barry Word. The freshman Morgan, who had over 100 yards rushing, will be in there. The big change is at tight end Joel Dempsey in place of Geno Zimmerlich. There's the offensive line, and it's a good one, especially Dombrowski and Harold Guerin, the center. Clemson's defense, Michael Perry, the younger brother of William Berlin, also a good one. And Terrence Mack will start at the bandit position. He has been injured. Both of their defensive ends have been. And you take a look at the linebackers. Henry Walls has just had an outstanding season so far, the leading tackler on the ball club. Also keep an eye on free safety A.J. Johnson, number 23. This is Adubari Adarubio, 5'10", 155-pound senior, another in the long line of Clemson place kickers who were tremendous soccer players, 3-time All-American in soccer. 6 out of his 8 kickoffs so far have not been returned by anybody. Make it 7 out of 9. Knocks it deep into the end zone, and Virginia will have to start from its own 20-yard line. There's Mikowski, who has had an outstanding year, 532 yards passing. Ken mentioned something a little earlier. Only 2 touchdown passes, Ken, and you were a little surprised by that.
Well, I think he throws the ball very well, but I think the absence of John Ford could account for that. Now he's missing Geno Zimmerlich, and he really did like to throw to Zimmerlich, especially in third and within the 20. He would always go to Zimmerlich. So we've got a little problem here, but he seems to be getting to the outside receiver.
Zimmerlich missed the Duke game and is still tied for receptions on this ball club. Morgan, the fullback. That's 2.5, maybe 3 yards. The middle of the Clemson defensive line led by Steve Berlin, who is very good against the run, made the tackle.
We talk a lot about Clemson being young, but nowhere is that youth more personified than on that defensive line. They have 7 freshmen and sophomores on the defensive line. Kevin Morgan, as I said, 6'2", 230 pounds, from Richmond, Virginia, the most highly recruited back probably maybe in the history of Virginia football, doing a great job for him.
2nd and 7. Berlin is the only senior along that defensive line. Give it to Morgan again. Morgan stays on his feet across the 30 up to about the 33-yard line, and he's got a first down for the Cavaliers. A.J. Johnson made the stop.
Now we're going to see Mikowski come down that line with the option play. Of course, he has the option. He gives it to Morgan. Now, Morgan's going to be a better and better runner. He really hasn't had a lot of experience out there running from that fullback position. He likes the tailback position. A lot of talk about him saying he wants to go back to tailback. He'll never see the light of day at tailback again if he runs like that.
I'll tell you, he's not going to see it very often this year with Barry Ward and Howard Petty there. Petty the starter. And Petty has the ball for the first time. He slices his way up the middle across the 35, the 37, 38-yard line. And Henry Walls was the first man to hit him, his 61st tackle of the year. He had 21 tackles against Georgia Tech.
I'd like to have been there just to see that one. You know, it's amazing. Barry Word is leading the conference, has really gained a lot of yards, and yet he doesn't even start the ball game.
Ninth in the country, averaging 120.3 yards.
And he can't start.
That's right. Mikowski on the option. He'll turn it up inside himself. Gets very close to the first down yardage again. Walls again in on the stop. Michael Dean Perry was also over there. He missed the first 3 games with a sprained ankle. Also has a hairline fracture in his fibula. This young man is just a tremendous ball player. Was a tackle a year ago. And, of course, he's always compared with his brother.
Well, we all know the refrigerator. William Perry now toiling for the Chicago Bears and doing a pretty good job on run situation. Michael Dean Perry not nearly as big as his brother William Perry, but who is quite a factor out there.
I know 3 guys who aren't together. Cavaliers trying to move on their opening drive after Clemson took it and marched down the field and got a 25-yard field goal out of David Treadwell.
Contrast the option that Mikowski runs to what Williams is doing. That offensive line of Virginia is so strong, you'll see them move that defensive tackle back off the line of scrimmage a lot more than you'll see Clemson move Virginia's tackle back.
Second first down on Virginia's initial drive. They're out at their own 43-yard line. Sean Lewis, the tight end in motion. He goes straight up to the left. Keith Vanderbeek into the ball game for the first time. Senior fullback who runs out of both positions now, both fullback and tailback, and Henry Walls is on the stop again.
Keith Williams and Henry Walls, 2 great football players. He dodged that back. You saw Walls get around that back and come in and make that tackle. Real forces in the game, much like Swan and McDaniel for Virginia.
Vanderbeek at fullback. Howard Petty continues at tailback behind McDaniel. Both wide receivers to the top of the screen. Mikowski on the option again, and he'll keep it. Mikowski across midfield. And on that play, Henry Walls, number 55, was the man who needed to get to Mikowski and could not get outside fast enough.
You just can't get to Don Mikowski when you have that line. Now, we see a little slip block on the guard and the tackle here. And we get that defensive back. See, he's got to play that pitch man. And here's Mikowski. They get so many people driven back off the line of scrimmage. He just picks that seam up between them. And, of course, Terrence Mack finally came up and made the tackle. Mack, of course, playing with a broken hand. Got a cast on with some help from Keith Williams.
6:54 to go, first quarter. Virginia on a drive inside Clemson territory for the first time. Morgan, the fullback, on 3rd and inches, will have a first down at the Clemson 45 and just inside it. And it's Steve Berlin again on the stop.
Steve Berlin, the anchor of that Clemson ball club, of course, the leader in sacks with this ball club, 6 behind the line of scrimmage. The real, not a fast guy, but has played so much football. As Coach Tom Harper, the defensive coordinator, said yesterday, just knows the game so well.
And his dad is a head trainer for the Steelers. You grew up around football, you understand things. Mikowski to throw for the first time, complete sideline, and it's to John Muha. Perry Williams has to make the stop over there. Ken, you mentioned earlier Virginia seeming to do a better job of getting the ball to the wide receiver.
One of the reasons, of course, is that fine senior end from Coraopolis, Pennsylvania, John Muha. Now, Perry Williams almost makes a cardinal sin, and, of course, John Muha almost makes an error in dropping that football. But Perry Williams came up on the inside on that hitch pattern. Muha could have been past him and into the end zone.
Muha now the leading receiver on the ball club with 12 catches. This is 2nd and 3. A flag is down.
Hey, does that play look familiar, Mike?
The first down. Sure does.
The Washington Redskins started that play with pulling everybody on that little counter move, and seems like everyone in the country has picked it up.
Redskins call it counter tray, and you normally see John Riggins back there. Here's the call on the and it'll be offsides against Clemson. That will be an automatic first down. They were very close on the running play.
Now we've got 2 good drives going. Both teams getting their hands on the football. It might set up what we expect the rest of the day. Whoever has it's going to march up the field.
defense.
Here are the officials headed by your referee, C.C. Daly. Our friend Ernie Cage down there is the umpire this afternoon. Clock ticking away inexorably in the first quarter, 5:45. Very rapid first period of play. Makowski wants to go for it all. Touchdown, Quanah Bullock. Quanah Bullock 2 steps behind Danforth, or Delton Hall rather, and Makowski just laid in the beauty.
Now this is Quanah Bullock's second game back, and quite frankly, Delton Hall just lost track of where that receiver was. He had plenty of time to get back, playing deep zone coverage. He let Bullock come up that sideline and get behind him.
Makowski with the bomb. Kenny Stadlin is on to tie it up. Or rather put Virginia ahead 7-3. They're now up 6-3. Stadlin true on the extra point. It's an excellent kicker, very reliable. And with 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the first quarter, the Cavaliers have matched Clemson with an opening drive and now taking the lead 7-3. George isn't nervous, is he?
No, I'm sure he's not at this point. Down here in Death Valley, you can always be nervous. We'll get a look at it from the end zone. They had a little roll zone on the right. Again, Bullock sneaks out of the out of the side. Now look at Hall back here. He should have had deep coverage to the outside, and he just loses track of the receiver.
Timeout on the field with 5:40 to go first quarter. It's Virginia 7, Clemson 3. Back after this from your local ACC station. Here's our first quarter score. Virginia leading Clemson 7-3. Both teams have moved the ball very, very well here with one possession rather, and both have scored. And Ken, it had to be very encouraging to Clemson, especially Rodney Williams, the freshman quarterback, to be able to take them down the field the first time he touched the ball, get some points on the board, and not turn it over.
Well, I think that's a big thing they needed early in the ballgame. Rodney Williams is a young quarterback. He does have one start, as we said earlier. He really started when Randy Anderson, the other sophomore quarterback, was being punished for an infraction against training rules earlier in the year, but hasn't thrown a lot of footballs. And as a matter of fact, 6 for 11 and has thrown 1 interception. I think they're hoping that he'll become the inspirational leader that Epley was.
Stadlin to kick it away. Ray Williams and Rulock are deep, and Rulock, who had a big one last time, will have another crack at it to the 21-yard line. Trying to kick the ball away from Ray Williams, and I guess that's a good move to make. Craig Zimmer down to make the tackle on Virginia special teams. An impressive Virginia drive, 80 yards in 9 plays. The bomb from Makowski to Bullock kept it off, 32 yards. The kind of thing coaches love to see. Eat up 5 or 6 minutes on the clock and score.
On a warm day like this down in Death Valley, you got to believe that's what the Virginia players, the offensive players, want to see.
Flowers, 48, and Johnson, 42, are the running backs. They'll throw it quickly out in the flat to Rulock. Flag goes down as Rulock is wrapped up right at the line of scrimmage. Good defense by Ryan Jackson, the cornerback.
Now they're going to call Ray Williams, I think, for an illegal block downfield before that ball had reached Rulock.
Here's Ray Williams, 45, talking to the officials.
Disregard the flag, no penalty. Man's blocking downfield, but the pass flees behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, I had my right man downfield, but the pass was behind the line of scrimmage, as the referee said. So that's a legal block. And no gain. Officially, they'll give them a gain of 1 and call it 2nd and 9.
Clemson at the 21. Johnson, 42, and Flowers, 48, are the running back. Flowers on the delay. Cuts to the outside. Slipped past Kevin Ferguson, the strong safety, but Ferguson got enough of him to bring him down, and Curtis Turner made sure. Kenny Flowers, quite a story, isn't he?
Oh, he's played every position you can, except guard or tackle. Kenny Flowers is quite a story himself. From Florida, the fastest man on this ball club. You can see the speed as he gets to the outside. Almost makes a tremendous move to elude Ferguson right there and get some help from the inside. But runs a 4.340.
Not only the fastest man, but one of the strongest. 3rd and 4. Tipped and intercepted. Cavaliers pick it off. Scott Lagaman, the reserve linebacker, using the tip drill, picks off the pass from Rodney Williams, and Virginia is in great shape at the Clemson 26.
go with that roll offense. They attack that defensive end and try to knock him down. Of course, the person who made that play was Charles McDaniel, who tipped the ball.
4:33 to go. First quarter. We'll be back with more after this.
Talking about overkill, watch these two backs attack the defensive end and cut him down. First they have the fullback Johnson, and then the halfback, and he's on the ground. He simply didn't get the ball up. Great play by Charles McDaniel to knock the ball into Scott Lockerman's hands, and that's why he's an all-ACC player.
The big bugaboo this year, turnovers. And there you see, up till now, Clemson had committed 18. That was their 19th of the year. They have forced only 7, and Virginia is in great shape. Petty and Morgan are the running backs. That's Lewis, the tight end in motion. This is Howard Petty trying to cut back on the sweep. Nice move by Petty. Cut it back, got down to the 24-yard line, and a flag is down. Mark Drag, number 85, in on the stop. He's the reserve middle guard, a 255-pound freshman. And it looks like the call will go against the Tigers.
Well, I'm sure Dan Ford at this point has to say if anything can go wrong, we'll do it. Last week, of course, against Kentucky, they backed up twice into the receiver of the kick of the punt, which you don't see, and twice in consecutive punts, they ran into the fair catcher.
Here's the call.
Face mask, 5-yard penalty defense. First down over repeat.
We see a great cutback by Petty here. Now Mark Drag is going to make this tackle. There we see the reach in right there, and I believe that was by Williams or Walls. Can't see the complete number.
It's a first down for Virginia. Mikowski on the option to Petty. Petty is nailed loose. Ball to go out of bounds, and a break for the Cavaliers. Petty was just drilled. And it was Kenny Danforth, the strong safety, who nailed him, and Danforth gets up a little slow. The flip from Mikowski turned Petty around a little bit, and he never got a chance to get righted.
Well, both of them got nailed. And offsides. A big hit here, hitting Petty. Danforth really lets him have it. The ball, fortunately for Virginia, bounces out of bounds, but it would have made no difference, of course, because there is a penalty on the play.
This will also go against Clemson.
Offside, defense lined up neutral zone, first down.
That is the third first-quarter penalty against the Tigers for 15 yards, and mistakes have killed this ball club this year.
Oh, the pain that is self-inflicted.
First and 10 at the Clemson, 14 for the Cavaliers, already leading 7-3. Petty straight up the middle to the 10-yard line. And it is Keith Williams, the weak side linebacker, who hit him first in the middle of that Clemson defense.
I have to believe this is the finest group of running backs we have in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and perhaps some of the finest in the country.
Oh, you have 3 guys very capable of getting 100 yards on their own, and then you got Mikowski, who's not only an excellent quarterback, but a very dangerous runner in his own right. Second and 7. Tight end Dempsey is in motion. They'll give it to Petty again. Petty this time to about the 7-yard line. Steve Berlin had him around the knees and wouldn't let him go. Berlin, the only senior on that forward wall. Matter of fact, one of only 2 seniors starting. Kenny Danforth, the strong safety, is the other.
You cannot say that about that Cavalier offensive line. What an offensive line that is, led by Harold Guerin and, of course, the great Jim Dombrowski, who's certainly an All-American Outland Trophy candidate.
Third down, 3 yards to go. Let's see if they run behind Dombrowski, their left tackle. They'll send the tight end in motion, and that's exactly where they go. And Petty to the 5. Well, if you want some yardage, you got to go behind Dombrowski, and Keith Williams made the tackle.
Well, I think you really have to go to where your bread and butter is, and boy, that's really important. Terrence Mack is a great football player, but look at him take himself out of the play. Comes upfield, he is no factor. He allows the tight end to get on him and push him out.
All Sean Lewis, the tight end, had to do was get in his way to keep him out of the play. Of course, Mack has suffered a lot of injuries so far, working with a sprained ankle and a broken hand. We've got a timeout with 2:44 to go. We'll be back with more from Death Valley after this. Clemson trailing 7-3 in Virginia in scoring territory again with 2:44 to go. And they brought Kenny Stanlin on to try a field goal. There you see the homecoming record for Clemson since 1970. And they have tended to pick on the Cavaliers. But with George Welsh running that Virginia program, they may not schedule a homecoming for most folks when the Cavaliers come to town.
I'd be darn insulted if I were their homecoming opponent. And I think Virginia's out to change that.
Stadlin, 10 out of 12 in field goals. This will be a 22-yard effort, not much more than an extra point, and Stadlin is true on the field goal, and Virginia has taken a 10-3 lead after spotting Clemson a 3-0 margin.
You know, I don't think enough is said about Kenny Stadlin. You know, he's just a super field goal kicker, and he's never missed an extra point, to my knowledge, and he really kind of goes about it fairly quietly.
It's wonderful to have a weapon like that. We've seen throughout the year so far in the Atlantic Coast Conference so many games where field goals can make a difference.
Of course, it makes no difference whether that field goal kicker, and there's Stadlin right there. Watch him follow through. Good form. You know, you really have to be unconcerned about your health. If you think about that, it's like a quarterback. A quarterback isn't known for being a courageous guy so much, but, you know, he's got a great acquired ability to take tremendous amount of punishment.
Well, once you put on one of those hard hats, I think you've already assumed that, haven't you?
Yeah, I think you have.
You ought to remember that. I mean, you had to run up the middle so much during your career.
Well, I think my IQ was commensurate with the position I played, but at quarterback, these guys are supposed to be smart.
That's right.
And kickers. A kicker's smart. He's found a way how he can live and play the game, too.
That's right.
All they do is talk to cheerleaders during halftime.
2:41 to go, first quarter. Stadlin will kick it away. Once again, Williams and Rulock back to the stage. And Williams will have his first chance from the 4. This kid is dangerous. Up the middle. Williams to the 42-yard line. Averaging 19.2 yards a return this year, has more than 1,000 yards in his career on kickoff return.
They are looking like they're ready to break at any moment. Look at that wedge. They come in, and that number 7 takes his shot too early and allows Williams a chance. There's your missed tackle at that point. Finally, the pursuit catches up. Again, mistakes. There's a penalty. We'll bring it back.
Yeah, the celebration is going to end in a hurry, and the crowd of 80,000 has not had a lot to cheer about since that opening field goal, as the Tigers have made more and more mistakes. This will be the 4th penalty in the first quarter.
Well, I think they might wear a rut going over and talking to Dan Ford and telling him what the penalty is about.
Well, Danny Ford's going to wear a rut talking to his players.
Well, I think he just did that.
So now Clemson pushed back to its 10-yard line. Inside the 10. They give it to Driver on the toss. He cuts it back, gets to the 14. Really took a shot from Gould. Free safety who's a hitter.
Kevin Gould started 3 ball games last year. Ball player. He really keeps his head in the ball game. 2 interceptions so far this year. And really has been the anchor of that very young secondary. Driver has been the man so far on the ground. 6 carries, 46 yards. This is 2nd and 5. Driver again will go student body left, and Sean Scott never let him get out of his own backfield. Scott, who is the 2nd leading tackler for the Cavaliers and the leading sack man, he has 8 coming into the ballgame. Really nailed him. Sean is one of the real starters from last year. Started in the 4th game. Now look at him come off his block. He's only 195, 200 pounds, but very quick. I did a ball game a couple of years ago, the state championship game. At that time, he was quite a man, playing 2 or 3 positions along the defensive line. You knew he was going to be a good one. Clemson has a new man in the backfield, Chris Lancaster, a fullback. And they'll have the first down as Keith Jennings crosses the 25 to about the 26-yard line. Good pass by Williams. Good pass by Williams. Again, play action. Very quick toss to Jennings. He makes a little spin here. The miss is by Turner. Finally, Charles McDaniel comes up to run him out of bounds, showing the mobility that McDaniel has. First down for the Tigers. At the 26-yard line. Down 10-3 with only 1:18 to go in the first quarter. Driver again struggling forward, staying on his feet to the 30-yard line. That's great balance.
Gain of 4 for Driver. That's 8 carries for 50 yards.
Well, coming into the ball game, only 32 carries for 137 yards.
Make it 8 carries for 49 as he was ruled down at the 29-yard line. Here's George Welsh looking over some notes on the sideline. The defense has performed well here in the first quarter. Driver again on the toss. Ferguson came up to hit him, bounced off him. Gould finally knocked him down, a loose ball, but after the play, tackle was made by Kelly Kalk, reserve right tackle.
Well, I'm impressed with, of course, Stacy Driver's tremendous balance, because he's really being hit at the line of scrimmage, keeping that balance and bouncing out.
He had only gained 34 yards in his last 2 ball games, and Flowers was doing more and more of the work at tailback. But after Flowers started at fullback today and Driver at tailback, Driver's been in there almost the whole time. 3rd and 2, the penalty's going to go against the Cavaliers for jumping offside.
Kelly Kalk. Now you get up there and you're really intense. 3rd down, 2 yards to go. You really got to get in there quickly. George Welsh doesn't like it.
Here's the call. It's an offside.
Encroachment on the defense. 1st down.
Kelly Kalk, poised to make the big play, makes the big mistake. Gets in that neutral zone. It's all over, folks. I'm sure there might have been a little funny play calling, too.
This is Williams on a roll. Looking to throw. Now he's going to have to eat. Got to the 41-yard line, and Sean Scott and Kelly Kalk sandwiched him after a gain of 1. And that's going to bring a very rapid first quarter to an end, with Virginia leading the Clemson Tigers here at Death Valley 10-3. We'll be back with more right after this. Clemson Pilot Teleproductions exclusive football coverage is brought to you by Coors, the beer with a difference worth tasting. Coors is the one. By Wachovia. When you want one person who can help you with all your banking needs, you have a personal banker at Wachovia. By Delta, the airline of ACC country. Delta gets you there. By Nissan and your local Nissan dealers, builders of quality cars for over 50 years. For quality and value, the name is Nissan. By Amoco, premium lead-free. Amoco, your car knows. And by the Jefferson Pilot Company, helping to put a brighter face on the future.
The homecoming event of the century.
First quarter statistics don't show you a whole lot other than it's been a relatively even ball game, and most of the damage has been done on the ground so far. The big statistic is 10 points for Virginia, 3 for Clemson. The Tigers trying to even that stat up right now. They have a 2nd and 8 at their own 41-yard line. Williams tosses to Driver. Looks like he wants to throw it. Now he has to run, and he's forced out of bounds. Good play by McDaniel to drive him out of there. Sean Scott trailing the play. Stacy Driver wanted to throw that football.
He showed it just a little bit too quick. I think Rulock was open very quickly, but he didn't make that move. We got to look at the 2 linebackers, Lageman and McDaniel. Now watch McDaniel. He's got tremendous speed, and he's got to stay out there with a little halfback that can really run. Almost tackles him or does wind up tackling, but Stacy Driver's quite a slippery eel.
Had the tight end Jim Riggs in the pattern, but I think the main receiver was supposed to be Terrence Rulock, who was way downfield. 3rd and 6. Williams going to have to throw. Over the middle, and it's complete. Got Jennings to the Virginia 38-yard line. Eric Clay, the strong safety, in on the stop. But Williams right on target to freshman Keith Jennings, whose brother Stanford plays for the Bengals.
Rodney Williams may not have thrown the ball a lot this year, but looks good on this toss near Stanford Jennings. Turns around, he's in there all the way, or Keith Jennings, rather. Stanford Jennings is his brother, who's a fine running back for Cincinnati.
First down, Clemson, the Tigers at the Virginia 38-yard line. Williams has been pretty impressive. He runs the out, tosses it to Driver. To the 30, inside the 30 to the 29-yard line. Scott Hillman actually had Driver knock him down.
Well, the backs run into each other right on the fake. Now watch Lancaster. They run into the pulling guard. That sends Williams out. He flips it to Driver. Now watch this move. And Curtis Turner is left holding nothing. Stacy Driver is using some moves.
Driver so far 11 carries, 66 yards. He had only gained 137 on the season coming into this one. Driver again bounces off a couple of tackles. McDaniel was there again.
Sometimes you can tell more about a back when he doesn't gain but 2 yards than when you can when he breaks one for 20 or 30. At that point, Russ Lund had him dead in the backfield. Driver gave him a little move. Driver's coming out of the ball game, and he deserves the rest. They've got some good backs to go back in there. Rod Quick going in.
Danny Ford has a lot of ability back there. He's got Quick and Flowers in there running back right there. Also has Johnson. Quick will go to a wingback position on 3rd and a yard. Quarterback keeper, Williams, oh yeah, easily. Down to about the 26-yard line. It will be another first down for the Clemson Tigers. They have had that one turnover, Ken Willard, but that was an interception on an excellent defensive play. They have not fumbled the ball at all, and that's got to be very pleasing to Danny Ford and to the 80,000 fans who are here for homecoming.
Well, interceptions haven't been their problem, and of course the only way you're going to avoid throwing an interception is not to throw the football. It looks like Rodney Williams has really kind of made himself aware of that, and he's going out there and throw some stuff up against the wall.
Williams, a freshman, running the option. Here's the reverse. Rollout.
Oh, there's nobody going to get him.
Touchdown. What a great call.
Unbelievable.
Williams took off in one direction to run the option, and here came Rulock out of nowhere. They tossed it back to him, and he had his big center, Jeff Litton, waiting out there, and Litton couldn't even find anybody to block.
Well, he didn't need to block anybody. Terrence Rulock was wide open and just had to find his way into the end zone. Curtis Turner, trying to get back, but not back in time.
That's his first touchdown of the year, and he gets it rushing and not receiving. Treadwell is on to try to tie it up. And does. Rulock led the ACC last year with 8 touchdowns receiving.
It looks like the straight option, a little delay to Flowers. Now watch the pitch. Rulock comes underneath Flowers. They've run that play 4 times before. 3 of them to Ray Williams. All 3 times have resulted in touchdowns. Rulock gets his chance today. Curtis Turner doesn't get there in time.
Boy, Jeff Litton, all 255 pounds of him out there to throw a block, and there wasn't anybody to hit. Timeout. We're tied. Tied at 10, second quarter. Clemson has come from behind and knot it all up on a great reverse play to Rulock, and it capped a 91-yard drive. Again, just the kind of thing Clemson has to have, and the kind of thing that's going to make Rodney Williams seem like a leader in their eyes.
Well, I think so. I think Rodney Williams gets in there regardless by hook or crook, whether it's a trick play or not. That guy's responsible for those points. And by the way, that's the most points this Clemson ball club has scored before halftime this year.
Well, they had 10 points total in the last 2 ball games. Got 3 against Georgia Tech, 7 against Kentucky. Otto Rubio will kick it off again. Remember, 7 of his 9 kickoffs so far this year have not been returnable. He can really boom it.
I just wonder how you work out the recruiting line to Nigeria.
Well, this is the 3rd time they've done
this? This is the 3rd time, and all of them good.
Otto Rubio kills this.
It's gone.
Put it over the fence, over the goalpost. If they ever have to try an 80-yard field goal, this is the kid they might call on.
That is amazing. That went out of the stadium, folks. That went over the goal line and over the fence.
Well, he did have a 5-mile-an-hour wind behind him, which must have added a yard at least. Let's see how Virginia counters this Clemson attack. The Tigers have already racked up over 100 yards on the ground. Virginia with 46. We'll check the tailback position for you, and it's Barry Word, the number 9 rusher in the country, seeing his first action today. Word, Chavis, the first man to hit him as he reached the 25.
You get that impression looking at that Virginia ball club that they can pretty much do what they want to. If they get enough time and they hold on to the football long enough, they're going to make an impressive performance. Barry Woods statistics to date. 69 carries, 481 yards, of course, 9th in the country, and certainly #1 in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Pat McKinney, a freshman, 6'3", 245 out of Jacksonville, Florida, is in at middle guard. A lot of freshmen out of Jacksonville, Florida, and McKinney makes the tackle. Used to live in Jacksonville. They play some great high school football.
They do play good high school football. And of course, look at Kevin Morgan here. Good blocking at the point of attack. Raymond Chavis comes up and makes that play, but Kevin Morgan benefits by having that great tailback behind him.
First down, 10, Cavaliers. Ball spotted at the 32. Dempsey, the tight end, shifts to the near side. McCaskey wants to throw. Quickly to Muha, nice move to the 45-yard line. Got away from Wesley McFadden, who just got a hold of an ankle and tripped him up. Another first down for the Cavaliers.
Muha has that little ability after he catches that ball to make that little slip move. And again, McFadden came up from the inside before this game's over with. If they keep attacking that short hitch from the inside, they're either going to get a hitch and go, or they're going to break the tackle rather, and get a much longer game.
11 minutes, 24 seconds to go first half. We're tied 10-10 along with Ken Willard. This is Mike Patrick. Glad to have you with us. Makowski sideline complete to Muha, who has become his favorite receiver since Geno Zimmerlink has gone out with an injury. It will be another first down, this one in Clemson territory. Muha has the nice hands.
Now, this is a classic drop-back pass. Makowski comes back, and Muha has to come back against this. Watch him get down, protect the ball, keep in bounds. Super toss, super catch.
First down, Cavaliers, ball at the 43. Virginia with the #1 rushing attack in the ACC. They're #8 in passing, but that's deceptive because they can throw. Morgan, the fullback, dragging people with him to about the 37-yard line. Richard Burton, the linebacker, in on the stop.
Not a bad actor either.
I won't touch that one. You mentioned Barney Chavis just a minute ago. That's on everybody's mind because he's his cousin, Raymond Chavis.
Well, you just told me something now. That's why I said it. Barney Chavis, of course, the Denver Broncos. Fine defensive lineman. 2nd and 4. They'll give it to Word, trying to cut it outside. No dice.
Mack had him around the ankles, stood him up, and then Henry Walls drilled him.
If you had to hope to get tremendous play out of that defense, you've got to get Henry Walls and Terrence Mack in the play. Of course, Mack has been hurt. Walls is coming off an injury-riddled last season. Been hurt some this year.
Also got Michael Dean Perry on the other side. He's been hurt so much. They need him in there. 3rd and 2, Virginia at the Clemson 35. Barry Word behind Morgan. Very close to the first down. Looks like he had it. And it was Richard McCullough making the tackle for the Tigers. And it is a first down.
Very methodical drive.
Now, we've had 4 of these so far, 2 for each ball club. Only been 1 turnover in the ball game. That was an interception by Virginia, which led to their touchdown. 1st and 10, Cavaliers. Makowski wants to throw. Deep over the middle has Dempsey. Touchdown, Cavaliers. Delton Hall right through his hands. As a matter of fact, it almost hit him in the helmet, and I think he turned the wrong way, and Dempsey had to keep up good concentration just to catch the ball.
Well, Joel Dempsey did nothing fancy, just split that seam. Delton Hall should be a much faster ball player than Joel Dempsey, simply using bad technique. Turned the wrong way, as you said, Mike. Touchdown.
Hall is much faster. He's a 400-meter man. Part of the 4x400 record-setting relay team here at Clemson. Stadlin on to add the point after, and he's got it. The Cavaliers strike in a hurry and have taken a 17-10 lead.
Again, nothing fancy. Trying to get 10 yards out of this play. A fake off the dive, and just comes back. Now watch Delton Hall turn. Goes right through his hands. Dempsey simply walks it in.
Well, Dempsey had him beat again by about 5 yards, I believe. I'm not trying to pick on Delton Hall, but I believe he was a young man who was beaten on the first touchdown.
Absolutely.
Timeout, 2nd quarter, 9:26 left. Virginia by 7. Back after this from your local station. Virginia on top 17-10 with 9:26 to go in the first half here at Death Valley at Clemson, South Carolina. We told you Virginia doesn't throw that much, but Don Mikowski is 5 for 5 for 97 yards today. They're very effective when they do, and his touchdown pass capped another long drive, this one of 80 yards, that took them just a shade over 3 minutes.
Well, you'd like to be able to find a reason for this. Delton Hall, again, a very quick man, simply lets Dempsey get out of his sight. The second time today, he was the defensive back defending on Quanah Bullock's long pass and turns himself the wrong way. Another touchdown, Virginia. I don't know whether we'll see Delton in there very much longer.
Stadlin to kick it away. And Williams at the 5. Cuts it outside. This guy is so dangerous. To the 31-yard line. A 26-yard return by Ray Williams. And Jeff Lageman, a freshman from Great Falls, Virginia, down on kick coverage for Virginia.
Now, Ray Williams is a premier kick returner. Comes up here with his wedge, decides to go off on his own after bringing everybody back in. Kevin Ferguson out there again, that defensive back who used to be a quarterback. Jeff Lageman coming up to finally make that tackle, but Ray Williams is a tremendous ball player. There he is. 46 returns, 1,040 yards. All-time kick return leaders for Clemson.
Let's see how the Tigers come back, down 17-10. Their offense has moved very well today. The insertion of quarterback Rodney Williams. This is Flowers in the tailback. He'll get about 4 to the 34-yard line. And it's Eric Clay and Charles McDaniel, 2 and 30 respectively, in on the tackle. Clay right now in there in place of Kevin Ferguson, the former quarterback, former punter.
Eric Clay from Verina High School in Richmond, Virginia, my old high school, Mike.
Is that right?
He's a little bit faster than I was.
He break all your records?
Well, he was a defensive back and receiver. He really didn't do a lot of running.
Flowers again trying to go off right tackle. Really nailed by Scott Matheson, the nose guard. Ken, I was reading something interesting this week about some of the Green Bay Packer players who were getting together for a reunion, and they determined that there was maybe only one player on that entire championship team that could play today. And we're talking about these kids are so much bigger than people of our era that played football 15, 20 years ago.
Well, they thought weights were something they gained in the offseason.
What's you get from eating Twinkies? 3rd and 5. Williams on the option, tries to keep it himself. Was stuck when he got to the 40-yard line. Russ Swan dragged him down. Williams a big kid, 6'2", 200.
Well, he is a big kid, and he can run. Now, watch 63. There we have that fullback plowing into him again. This is a little bit of a tentative call, in my opinion, on 3rd and 5, backed up. It's kind of a giveaway call. You're hoping that it works, and you're not really going for that first down.
Andy Newell will come in to punt for the first time. Newell's done a great job as a kicker, averaging 42 yards a kick. That's number 1 in the ACC, and Chris Warren is deep to receive.
And Andy would love to be on scholarship.
Warren makes a fair catch at the 24. Coaches love those walk-ons, though, don't they?
Well, they do, especially the kicking position. Of course, with only 30 ball players that you're able to kick, there's Andy Newell right there. You have to let him come on his walk-on.
17-10 Virginia, 7:28 to go in the half. Back after this. There's the story from Death Valley. Second quarter, Virginia on top by a touchdown. The Cavaliers have the football back at their own 24-yard line. And the homecoming attendance, 78,000 people. This is, if you have never been down here, if you ever get the chance to come to Clemson for a football game, take it. This is an unbelievable stadium, one of the prettiest sights in all of college football. Mikowski back to throw. That quick out again to Muha. This one a little low, and John could not hold it at the 30.
Well, as you might guess, I would say that probably the defensive backs of Clemson are starting to back off a little bit. Been burned twice by big plays, and you're going to see that little hitch pattern. But look for that hitch and go somewhere during this ball game. I'm still betting that Muha is going to run that play.
Muha and Willie Snead are the wide receivers. They come to the near side of the field on 2nd and 10. Barry Word is in there at tailback, and Word has the football. Has not been able to break anything so far. He's only been in for 2 possessions. Steve Berlin made the stop again.
Talked to Tom Harper, the defensive coordinator and assistant head coach for Clemson yesterday, talking about that young defensive line. They said Steve Berlin He doesn't have a lot of speed. He is a strong kid, but he plays well because he knows the game and he's had experience.
Third down, 6 yards to go. The Clemson fans trying to get into it. Mikowski faked the outs and then had it knocked down by Michael Dean Perry. Got a big paw up there and swatted it, number 91.
Michael Dean Perry been hurt a lot this year. His leg almost, the bottom of his leg almost looks like his thigh. You can see the tape thigh, and gee, he makes a great play by getting up and swatting that ball down.
Now Virginia will have to kick it with Jeff Walker, who's also having an outstanding season, averaging 40.6 yards a kick. That's third in the conference. And Steve Griffin will be back to return his first punt ever in a Clemson uniform. Kevin Brady, the normal return man, was out with an injury. Low line drive. Griffin might have a chance on this one. Still on his feet to the 45-yard line. And Clemson will have excellent field position from there. Line drive kick and a good return by Griffin. 6 minutes and 41 seconds to go in the first half of play. Virginia by 7. 6:41 to go, first half of play from Death Valley at Clemson, and Virginia by 7. The Tigers have the football back at their own 45. The announcers for this game were approved and selected by Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. Any rebroadcast, transmission, duplication, or reception without the express written permission of Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions is prohibited. Williams will give it to his fullback straight up the middle. That's Johnson. We get a couple. Sean Scott, number 51, on the stop. And there are 2 flags down as we have McDaniel in the backfield of Clemson with a little altercation.
Now, normally in college ball, if there's any rough stuff, they'll call it both ways. Well, they didn't this time. Charles McDaniel, not known to back off from controversy, had a little something to say to one of the Clemson ball players.
I think he had a little more on his mind than something to say, too. But coaches really hate that. You hate to see things that cost you 15 yards.
You don't want to give them a drive, and that's exactly what you're doing before the half.
Dead ball foul, striking foul, just the defense. First down.
Well, that was fairly, hey, he got into that.
Certainly did.
A smacking foul.
Ball spotted at the 34-yard line, first and 10. Flowers in at tailback. Johnson 42 to fullback. Flowers gets 5, maybe more. McDaniel on the tackle along with Swan. Swan had him around the ankles. McDaniel around the shoulder pad. And those are the 2 guys you expect to see in on Virginia stops.
Rodney Williams giving the ball to Flowers. Of course, everybody's been talking about how young that offensive line is, but they're moving that Virginia group off the ball.
Flowers, 5 carries, 15 yards. Stacy Driver's been the big man so far, 12 for 66. Flowers stays on his feet. Swan makes the tackle again, along with McDaniel and along with Sean Scott.
Scott made a good play, got upfield, broke him up, made him cut it back in. Sean Scott, 6'3", 195-pound sophomore, true sophomore, played last year, again beginning the 4th ball game, became a starter as a freshman for him.
George Welsh doesn't do that very often. Third down, 1 yard to go. Big play here. Just outside the 25. Johnson, the fullback, leans forward after he was hit at the line of scrimmage. Got very close to the first down. Scott Matheson and Eric Clay, the strong safety, number 2, came up to make the stop.
Tracy Johnson did not like that. Gets a little numbing reaction in the shoulder. You know, offensive linemen don't play football. They play thud. If you think about it, they really, I don't know, it's a misnomer to say they're football players. All they do is hit each other in the head all day.
Well, it's easy for you to say that up here. You get down on the field, you speak a little more kindly of them.
I wouldn't say much to them anyway. I never talked to many of them. I talk to offensive players. I will talk to offensive players. I never say anything to Sir to defensive players. I used to always be amazed at those guys who could be mad at the defense. I always want them to like me.
Don't upset them. They're going to hit you anyhow.
Got a picture there of John Watson. John Watson's quite a story. Been accepted to med school. Could graduate at the end of this semester. Has a big decision to make, whether to come back and get a master's and stay around.
Only a junior.
I know.
Williams on the fake. Got him open. Oh, and Riggs couldn't hold it.
again.
Riggs was wide open. Ryan Jackson was coming across, but he got there late, and Williams just didn't have the touch on it.
The inexperience of a freshman quarterback, a redshirt freshman quarterback. He starts to go down the line. Now, he's got to throw it right now. He had him open, and when he throws it, he gets the coverage back in the picture and throws it long on top of that.
Just taking a little bit off of it, he had to score.
Now, at that point, I've got to say Riggs has got to lay out. He's got to go everything after.
2nd and 10. Flowers on the sweep. Got some blocking, but what a tackle by Swan. He came in and cut his ankles out from under him.
You're right, Mike. That's a great play by Russ Swan, a fine senior linebacker.
Came into this ballgame with 48 tackles.
2 yards.
And that was a big stop there because Flowers had room to run.
Crucial play.
3rd and 8 with 4.5 minutes to go, first half. Virginia up by 7. Rodney Williams back to throw. Little sprint out action over the middle. Incomplete. Shelton Boyer again was open, and Williams again overthrew him by about 2 feet.
Well, he had him. You're exactly right. Rollout pass. Had that post pattern coming back against the action. Now, Williams has to make a difficult throw. He has to throw back against his body. There's no doubt about that. But 2 passes in 1 drive. Should have had 2. There we go. He tries to lay out. Now, he takes a shot at Shelton Boyer trying to get out there, of course, to make that. He had gotten behind Gould, but to no avail.
And we'll go for the field goal. Treadwell, the ball spotted at the 29-yard line, so it will be a 39-yard attempt. He is only just outside 30 yards. He's got this one, and a flag is down. This may be interesting. It looked like the Clemson...
Oh, they went into the kicker.
Yeah. It looked like the Virginia rush banged into either the holder or the kicker. Now, here's the question. Do you take the points off the board?
If it's a first down, I would. Now we see the play. Now, here we see the layout. Now, that's a running into the kicker.
Yep.
Now, is that roughness or is it running into, Mike?
I think that'll be running into him, and Treadwell didn't even have to act on that one. He was legitimately
Well, if it's running into him, it's only a 5-yard penalty.
That's right. And it would not be a first down.
Running into the kicker, gets the defense 5-yard penalty, be penalized on the kickoff. 3 points good.
They took the 3 points. It's a good call.
Excellent call, Mr. Willard.
Well, it wasn't a good call. I mean, it was a good call by Danny Ford.
No, I mean an excellent call by you to point that out. But you're right. Danny Ford in that situation would be facing a 4th and 3, and he'd end up trying to kick the field goal again.
Interesting, Mike. How in the world do they make their mind up from a decision standpoint, referee's decision, which is roughing and which is running in?
I think it's like flagrancy of anything else. If he doesn't bleed, it's just running into him.
You're right.
If he can get up.
I guess you have to read intent into that.
Which makes it very difficult for officials. Their job is hard enough without trying to be mind readers. 17-13. And a couple other scores to pass along to you. It might be a little bit of surprise. North Carolina State at Pittsburgh leading 10-7 second quarter. Tom Reed has got to be happy. Foge Fazio has got to be wondering what he might be doing next year. North Carolina at NC State Saturday at noon. Hope you'll be with us for that one. It is always a war, a backyard neighborhood brawl. They'll penalize the running into the kicker on the kickoff. So Otto Rubio will kick it off to the 45-yard line. He's got a chance to knock it entirely out of the stadium.
This is like trying to sell ice to Eskimos, giving him 5 yards.
8 of 10 kickoffs of his have been unreturnable this year. This will make 9.
Mike, would you go for an onside? Would you go for an onside?
Maybe. And this one might be brought back. Now 9 yards deep in the end zone. He didn't get all of that one for sure. But Virginia will have to go from the 20-yard line.
That would have been an interesting, if he could have put that ball high, if they could train him to put that ball high as he kicks it long, and then get that kickoff coverage team down after that ball, they could have quite an interesting situation there.
Here's what's happened with the Cavaliers. They have scored on 3 of 4 possessions. Only the last time did they have to give up the ball on a punt. Morgan the fullback, Word the tailback. This is Quanah Bullock in motion behind McCaskey. And McCaskey wants to throw. sideline, and he didn't get his foot down in bounds. The official right on top of the call. Perry Williams was out there on defense right with him.
Ryan Raber had a real rush on the quarterback Mikowski, but this is a tough thing for Mikowski because it takes a heck of an arm to get it out there. Now watch Muha, he has to get 1 foot in. Nope, he's on the line. He's out.
That's a good call by the official. The line is out of bounds. 2nd and 10, Cavaliers, 4:07 to go in the quarter. Clemson would like to hold here and get the ball back. Mikowski on the option. He'll cut it back and keep it. Picks up 5. And Henry Walls stuck him about as hard as he could along with number 9, James Earl. Walls was an all-ACC choice as a freshman in 1983. That happened very, very rarely. And 84 was just a series of injuries for him. And he is back in 85.
And boy, is he back. I think Don Mikowski runs that option with real vengeance. He comes down there, and you know he's going to run that football. And once he gets past that line of scrimmage, he's another running back.
Gain of 5 for Mikowski, 3rd and 5. Don wants to throw this time. Has blockers in front of him. He'll go for the first down and make it, and gets out of bounds. Good, smart play by Mikowski. He's not the fastest guy in the world, Ken, but he is so smart.
He does the right thing at the right time, and I think that's what George Welsh likes about him. Barry Word makes one whale of a block here to make a course to free Mikowski to get out there, and that's Eldridge Milton. Watch Eldridge Milton, number 87. Now watch Word. Oh, Word cuts him right down. Mikowski can walk out. Not only does he get the first down, he stops the clock, and he doesn't get hurt.
Now, 218-pound tailbacks can throw blocks like that. At about 180, it's a little bit more difficult to block linebackers. Mikowski with time, dumps it off for Word. Well-disguised screen pass, and Barry Word has a chance to break it. Out of bounds near the 50-yard line. Driven out of bounds by A.J. Johnson and Kenny Danforth.
You said the right thing, well disguised, because I'm looking downfield at Muha. He's running that 12-yard out, and for sure I lost track of Word also, but they were setting up that screen from Word go.
Mikowski must have taken acting 101 somewhere because he just looked downfield for about 6 full seconds until he looked at his screen there. 1st and 10, Cavaliers. They'll mark it out of bounds at the 47-yard line. This is Bullock in motion again. The Word, the tailback, across the 50 to the Clemson 48-yard line. And it was Raymond Chavis, the 290-pound freshman tackle.
There's Mikowski with the give to Word, of course, and Mikowski's smart enough to get out of there. But 290-pound Raymond Chavis can make the play.
Barry Word with only 17-yard rushing on 5 carries. Mikowski wants to go deep downfield, knocked away by Williams. Great play by the junior cornerback. Cut across and tipped it. He broke up 5 passes against Virginia Tech.
That's a record for the Clemson Ball Club. A good reaction on this play because I thought Bullock was open, and all of a sudden Perry Williams comes from nowhere and breaks up that pass. I like the Virginia passing offense. They flood a zone. They give Mikowski 2 or 3 options. Of course, he had 2 receivers there he could have chosen, and also to have run the football.
Mikowski, 6 out of 10, 112 yards, 3rd down play here, knocked down again. And this was stopped by Delton Hall trying to redeem himself, and he certainly did on that play.
Well, I tell you, Delton Hall needs a big play. There he is. Makes the big play, jumping in front, of course, being careful not to put his hand on the back of that receiver.
Excellent effort. Another junior. Walker will come in to punt. Griffin will drop deep. 2:36 to go. Clemson with a chance to get the ball back and maybe put some more points on the board. They're down 17-13. Walker to Walker. Beautiful punt this time. Walker signals fair catch and makes the freshman mistake of catching the ball at the 3-yard line.
That was Steve Griffin.
I'm sorry, Griffin, the junior.
What a mistake.
He made a freshman mistake.
He did make a freshman mistake. No way in the world should you be backing up from the 10-yard line to make that reception.
Coming up at halftime, Delta's won for the books. We'll have our scoreboard show for you, as well as a couple of special guests, so we hope you'll stay tuned for that.
Randy Anderson, the sophomore quarterback who had started all of the games previous to this one, is in the ball game, and I don't know what that tells us other than the fact we might see some long throws.
And instead, he gives it off to Driver, who's back into tailback. You have to wonder if there is anything wrong with Rodney Williams, or if they just want to throw the ball a lot on this final drive, if they get some operating room.
Well, if you're those two linebackers for Virginia, you're pretty loose right now. You know there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see a running play, and you can stay solid. Look at Russ Swan get up in there, and of course, soon after that, Charles McDaniel ready to do the coup de grace.
2nd and 7, draw play, driver, 14-yard line.
That's a big play.
Mark Balazentis was the first man in on the hit, and Chris Warren, number 22, came up and really popped him at the end of that run. It'll be 3rd and 2. Clock continues to run, 1:51 to go. Driver 77 yards on 14 carries.
Clemson has all his timeouts left.
I think they want to make sure they'll get this first down before they use any of those and maybe help out Virginia. Anderson to throw, guns it sideline, incomplete. Trying to throw out there for Ray Williams.
They have that first down, Mike, and that's a dangerous pass on a first down, a 5-yard out from your own 10-yard line. That's got TD written all over.
And Ryan Jackson had good coverage on the corner. Sophomore out of Washington, D.C. was out there.
Now, this is the time that you have to go downfield. Your big yardage in this situation, last 2 minutes of the half, last 2 minutes of the ball game are downfield. Takes a lot of courage to throw it over that middle, but that's where your yardage is.
Sophomore quarterback Randy Anderson will give it off to Driver, trying to get outside. He's in a lot of trouble. Sean Scott. Looked like there was a little mess up on the handoff there between Anderson and Driver, and it fouls up the timing.
Well, Randy's not been in the ball game. Anderson comes in the last 2 minutes of a game. He's probably not worked with these people, and regardless of what people think, you get used to a quarterback during a game, and even making a change, even though you work with him in practice, has a real bearing on where the ball is put. And some quarterbacks traditionally hold it high, some put it low.
Now the ball is in Virginia's court, and George Welsh has used a timeout. The Cavaliers have one left. It'll be 3rd and 11. They'd like to get the ball back with a little time on the clock, maybe have a chance to get some of their own points.
Well, that's exactly right. I think Clemson had a tremendous opportunity they didn't take advantage of when they had a first down on about the 12-yard line, and they started out that series by throwing that little 5-yard out for an incompletion. That is a time that you've got to go for your 30 or 40-yard line. You need that 30 or 40-yard line to operate, and you've got plenty of time to move it down, at least for a field goal. At this point, you're going to be hard-pressed to throw the football on 3rd down on this situation with this time left, and of course, you're going to give Virginia back the ball with a lot of time.
Danny Ford on the sideline, unaccustomed to suffering, and he is so far this year, 1 and 3. He had a great line earlier in the week. He said his running backs have fumbled so much. His wife is expecting another child soon. He said, when the baby's born, I'm not going to let any of the running backs handle it.
Oh, that's tough.
Back to throw is Anderson under pressure, dumps it over the middle, complete to Quick. Quick will be shy of the first down as he reaches the 22-yard line. The clock will stop with 1:11 to go. Balazentis again in on the tackle. Quick has caught 10 passes coming out of the backfield this year. They like him in there on receiving situations.
And that was a good play selection. I would have liked to see that on first down rather than on 3rd down, but it was a good play in that situation.
Anderson comes off the field. The Tigers have thrown the ball to running backs already in 5 games this year, more than they have ever thrown to running backs since Danny Ford has coached here.
Well, that either says they've got great running backs who catch the ball well, or their running game is not doing very well.
I think it also says something about the experience of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's easier to throw those passes. You don't have to read so many different coverages.
That's exactly right. You look at the play selection of Makowski and how he's throwing that deep ball to the outside, and look at the play selection of the 2 Clemson quarterbacks, and they're throwing those short passes, the roll passes.
Newell, the senior, will go back to punt to Chris Warren. 1:11 to go. First half, Virginia leading at 17-13. It's been a good offensive show by both ball clubs. Clemson has to be especially encouraged. Not a single fumble in the first half. Plenty of time and a pretty good kick. Warren from the 40. A little tentative on the return. Gets about 5 yards to his own 45-yard line with 59 seconds to go in the half. Virginia with excellent field position, and they don't have to go too far to get within Kenny Stadlin's range.
No, but, you know, that is a very indicative of a freshman receiving the ball. I think Chris Warren is going to be one of the most exciting ball players. There we see the college update, NC State and Pittsburgh tied. Chris Warren's going to be one of the most exciting ball players in the history of Virginia, but he should have been out of bounds.
6-yard return for the young man on that one after a 38-yard punt. Makowski has his wide receiver split. go on the ground instead to keep Vanderbeek, and Vanderbeek driven out of bounds at midfield by Henry Walls. Vanderbeek had been injured earlier in the year, had a bruised shoulder.
There's fate for you. Had his chance to be a star and start, of course, when Antonio Rice was hurt earlier in the year, but he became injured in the first week of practice, or the week of the first game, and just getting back into it.
And now Rice hurt again with a knee. He's out. Been a tough season for him. 2nd and 5, Virginia. They'll give it again. Howard Petty back in the tailback. He'll get about 3. And you have to wonder what Virginia's thinking of with the clock running and no timeouts left. We're down to 40 seconds, and they're in Clemson territory.
Well, it looks like they're not thinking about scoring.
It does, doesn't it? We're down to 30 seconds. And Mikowski will throw on 3rd and 3. Thrown for Petty, incomplete, and it's knocked away by Delton Hall, who has come up with 2 straight big plays, and will bring up 4th and 3 for Virginia. Mikowski looking to the sideline to see what George Welsh might want to do.
If you notice, Delton Hall is not letting anyone behind him, and he comes up and makes a fine play the way he should have played 2 other passes that went for TDs earlier in the game.
I think George Welsh was considering going for it on 4th and 3, thinks better of it, and sends Jeff Walker into punt.
I think that's a good move.
I do too. Steve Griffin standing back at the 10-yard line. You can bet that if this one goes over his head, he won't backpedal and catch it.
Oh, bad punt.
And it wasn't over his head. It was way short. He didn't even bother to get near it. And they'll down the ball with 16 seconds to go at the Clemson 18-yard line. Here's another score for you. Florida State leading Auburn. The Seminoles on top 14-7. That's the 2nd quarter score. Oh, Jackson's probably already carried 20 times.
Exactly. You know, one thing I keep seeing in college and high school football, which I don't like, and even sometimes in professional football, that deep man letting the ball hit and roll. Now, in this situation with 20 seconds to go or 16 seconds, that's the only situation you should let it go.
I agree. Anderson still in at quarterback, gives it to Flower. Tailback sweep gets out to about the 24-yard line, and I think they'll just let the clock run out on this one as Charles McDaniel is in on the stop. Clemson, with not good field position, I think made a sound decision just to try to let Flowers run it. If he broke one, that's fine. If he didn't, he didn't. Once again, I think the biggest thing in the first half, Ken, is the fact that Clemson only turned the ball over once. That was on an interception. They had no fumbles, and that's the thing that has killed them in the first 4 games.
I think both of them played very good football. I think 2 big plays in that first half. Clemson missing those touchdown passes. Rodney Williams, of course, missing with Riggs, and then missing with his other receiver, Boyer, in that one drive prior to the last drive. Could go into this game, good in the half rather, tie it up. May come back to haunt them later.
While Mikowski hit 2 long touchdown passes.
Exactly.
17-13, Virginia on top of the Clemson Tigers in front of a homecoming crowd of 78,000 people. Interesting to see, Ken, if they come back in the second half with Rodney Williams at quarterback or Randy Anderson.
I think they'll go with Williams.
We're at halftime at Clemson, and we'll be back with our halftime show for you right after this. Virginia is leading Clemson here at halftime, 17-13. The Cavaliers came in here favored this afternoon. Mike Patrick and Ken Willard back with you. Nice to have you with us this afternoon. It's a great day at Clemson, South Carolina. Beautiful weather, homecoming crowd. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. Virginia leading. They have never beaten Clemson. They have lost to the Tigers 24 straight times. 1980 was the closest they have ever gotten to beating this team. And that is one game worthy of Delta's, one for the book.
The airline of ACC country is proud to bring you another ACC football one for the books. Delta gets you there. The University of Virginia was an obvious underdog when it hosted Clemson in 1980. The Tigers had lost but once that season, but more important, had beaten the Cavaliers all 19 times the teams had met. Still, Virginia led 7-3 in the first quarter when Homer Jordan threw a short sideline pass to Perry Tuttle. One missed tackle and several fancy Dan moves later, Tuttle was on his way to a spectacular 56-yard reception and touchdown, giving Clemson a 10-7 lead. It was one of only 2 passes Jordan would complete on the day, but they were both big ones. Virginia would not go down easy this day, though. In fact, as the third quarter was winding down, the Cavaliers had scored 3 touchdowns. This a 1-yard sneak by Lindsey Delaney, and Virginia had built a surprising 24-10 lead. But as if Clemson suddenly remembered it never loses to Virginia, the Tigers went to work. Jordan achieved his other completion of the day with a 51-yarder to Jerry Gayard, who parlayed the catch with some fine open field running to set Clemson up in scoring position as the third quarter ended. Then Jordan was to do what he always did best. He ran the option to perfection, his last-moment pitch to Brendan Kreit, allowing Kreit to sneak into the end zone and pull Clemson to within a score of the upstart Cavaliers. With 3:05 to play, Clemson made the big play of the game as Willie Underwood broke through on an all-out rush to block a Virginia punt, allowing Bill Smith to scoop up the prize and tie the score with the extra point added on. The Tigers special team had made the play Clemson had to have, but with time winding down, the game was even and Virginia had the ball. Still a few more heroics were needed, and Steve Durham came through with a sack of Virginia quarterback Todd Kirtley on a key third down play. Clemson had the ball back with a chance to keep its perfect record against Virginia alive. The Cavalier defense was tough, but Jordan, a future Canadian Football League player who had 213 yards in total offense on this day, was able to scramble free for 9 yards, setting up a last-ditch field goal try. With 6 seconds left to play, the ACC's top field goal kicker, Obed Ariri, hit a 52-yard radar missile, and Clemson had stung Virginia again. The Orange Bowl and national title were still in the future, but Clemson had achieved one of its best fourth-quarter comebacks ever, and another one for the books. This has been another ACC One for the Books, brought to you by Delta. Delta gets you there.
And we would like to pay particular thanks to the young lady who puts all these One for the Book segments together for us. That's Anna Owens, and we don't at times have enough time or enough concern to say thank you to a lot of the people that we should. So, Anna, we will take the opportunity right now to say thank you for all your good work, and we certainly appreciate it whether we indicate it to you enough or not.
Well, we tell her that all the time in the truck, but we don't get a chance to say it publicly, and so we're saying it publicly. It's like saying hi to Mom.
Well, that's right, and we're very proud of everybody that works on this crew. It's nice to have the entire Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions crew back together again this weekend. It's a lot of fun to work with them. We'll be back with more of our halftime show from Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, right after this. And now Jefferson Pilot brings you the Jefferson Pilot Scoreboard Show. 17-13, Virginia over Clemson. That's our score here at halftime at Clemson, South Carolina. But we want to keep you up to date on as many other things as possible. First, let's take a look at the National League playoffs. The Cardinals, who lost the first 2 games, have gone on top of the Dodgers 2-0 in the first inning. I can't help but admit I'm a Cardinal fan, and I've been disappointed this week.
Well, of course, I was there for a couple of years in St. Louis, and I would like to see them make a run at it.
All right, let's get on to college football. Have some interesting scores for you. North Carolina State and Pittsburgh, 10-10. That's at the half. NC State did have a 10-7 lead. William & Mary losing to Virginia Tech 17-7. Been a tough year for the Goblets.
Well, Stan Yellow is one of the premier quarterbacks for William & Mary in the country. Virginia Tech must be doing a good job of controlling him.
Florida State and Auburn. The Tigers have come back to tie it up 14-14. That's in the second quarter. Tennessee and Florida, big Southeastern Conference game. That's tied at 3-3. Tennessee's really been great this year. Kansas over Iowa State, 9-7. That's the second quarter score. Appalachian State leading Tennessee Chattanooga, also in the second quarter. Western Carolina and Georgia Tech. Western Carolina was actually ahead in that ball game, 7-0.
Bobby Waters, the former 49er quarterback in the shotgun. That's right. He was one of the all-around guy in the shotgun, doing a great job at Western Carolina.
Takes us back a little, doesn't it, Bobby Waters?
Yeah.
And North Carolina leading Wake Forest. Remember how well Wake Forest played against Tennessee. They're down 14-0 at Chapel Hill in the first quarter. Of course, North Carolina will be playing North Carolina State next weekend. When that game comes up, neighbors become enemies, families stop talking. It is a bitter rivalry for the state's bragging rights. NC State can only remember last year's game.
This is a real pleasure for me because with me today is the Dean of Atlantic Coast Conference Sports Information Directors, Bob Bradley. Bob has been with Clemson how many years?
About 31 or 32, somewhere along in there.
It's almost a habit, and I want to tell you something, and I haven't had a chance to say this, and on behalf of all the media, whether it be radio, press, TV, or whatever, one of the great opportunities in broadcasting and covering a football game is coming to Clemson University and the great hospitality. What time does your day start on game day?
Well, I drag it over about 9 o'clock in the morning and get over here usually about 10:30. Today a little bit early because we went on air a little bit, but usually we'll get home about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. We'll get our 8 hours in.
You do get your 8 hours in, and I
want to retaliate there, though. Skeeter Francis is a lot older than I am, and he's been in business a lot longer.
But he's not at one school, Bob. You stayed at Clemson. That just shows you've got good hireability. What did Bill McClellan say? The fine baseball coach just proves you've been around longer than anybody else.
That's right.
Listen, you're one of the few people that have been around long enough that can talk about me and Coach Howard. And Coach Howard was a great man and a great coach here at the university. And I've never brought this up on TV, but I thought that you might be the person to bring it up.
I think it should be brought up, really, because I remember a home run you hit down here. That woman still hasn't got her window light replaced over there. And but you remember we beat you down here as a sophomore. We beat you at Chapel Hill 11-7. Your Gator Bowl. You beat Air Force, what was it, 29-0? And then you came back down here and you really run roughshod over us, 29-0. Coach Howard had a key that went into the dressing room, and he went in there and he said, "Where's that Willa?" And you came up hoping to get a pat on the back, and he reached up and kissed you. And you said you caught something that hadn't cured yet.
Well, I tell you one thing. If Coach Howard is listening or he's around, he sure can kiss well. And I tell you, if I've got to be kissed, I'd rather be kissed by the great men in this world, and he's one of them. Bob, thank you so much for being with us. And again, thank you for the great hospitality.
Come back anytime.
Thank you.
All right, Ken and Bob, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to read that press guide. It's a real joy. We'll be back with more at halftime after this word from your local ACC station.